Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us this wonderful Monday evening. My name is Dr. Sebastian Boots. I'm the Director of Bands here at Lindenwood University, and it is a great honor and pleasure to welcome the students of Francis Howell North Wind Ensemble, led by Dr. Ryan Curtis. So please give them a warm welcome. This is a pretty special opportunity and unique event to have Dr. Curtis on stage here with us. He's actually one of my predecessors here, so it's awesome for him to be back here and to welcome his band. I had a chance to work with the band a few weeks back at their high school, and it's just tremendous to hear the talent and just passion for music that they have. And I'm just so excited to hear them in this space and welcome to them to campus. So we hope you enjoy this opportunity, and we hope you enjoy listening. And after their portion, they have 3 pieces for us this evening. There will be a brief intermission, at which point we're just going to do a quick stage change for some chairs to welcome the Lindenwood Wind Ensemble. So during that time, feel free to use the restroom facilities or anything. It'll be quick, maybe 10 minutes or so. And then we'll get started with the second half of the program. So without further ado, please welcome once again the Francis Howell North Wind Ensemble.
I like that he put it down about 3 feet from where he normally talks. But I do want to thank Dr. Boots for having us out. I did teach here for about 14 years before going to Howell North, and it is filled with wonderful people, and Dr. Boots is, if I were half the director that he is, I would be doing super well. So you guys are in very good hands here, and he's a wonderful, wonderful human being and music teacher. So very happy that he invited us out to play with you guys tonight. We're gonna play 3 for you today. That was a piece called The Wild Ones by Brian Balmages. We're gonna play a ballad now, which is called With Each Sunset by Richard Salcedo, and it's in memoriam of a gentleman by the name of Jack Hensley who passed away or died in Iraq in 2004, and this was written, commemorated by his, or commissioned by his family, by Richard Salcedo. So this is With Each Sunset. We're going to close tonight with a more upbeat piece called Fracas. This is going to feature, well, a few different people. Chase on drum set, Annie on piano. We have about 5 sick people today, and we sort of got most of the parts covered, but I do want to thank Mr. Jurgensmeyer for filling in for us just right now on trombone back there. We tried to get him to come back to North, but full time, and that's just not going to fly. So we're appreciative of all of our students here, even Mr. Jurgensmeyer. We're going to close here. I'm trying to think. I think we're good. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Boots, for having us out. Lindenwood, wonderful, wonderful people here, and it's a real honor to come back and see everyone and be on this stage again. It's a little surreal. So we're going to close with Fracas by Randall Standridge. And this is the Howell North Wind Ensemble. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Sorry I got lost. Well, that was a terrific first half of the program. Congratulations, Francis Howell North. It was just, wow, really inspiring. I am very excited to welcome the Lindenwood Wind Ensemble to the stage tonight. We have quite a few special elements to our program, and the first of which is a world premiere. This first piece you'll hear, To Awake the Roar of the Lion Within, by our composer in residence, Dr. Ian Guthrie, who is the assistant professor of music at Calvary University in Kansas City area. I met Dr. Guthrie a couple years ago at the Missouri Music Educators Association conference. I was in the exhibit hall in the booth next to our Lindenwood booth, and he's coming around with this like duffel bag of compositions of scores that he had written for band, and it was just really amazing to see how passionate he was about the music and that he had written. And we immediately struck up a conversation about, I'm very eager to collaborate with individuals and bring new music to life for this medium, for band, and he's eager to do the same. So we immediately hit it off, and just over the next couple of years kind of kept in touch and thought about how this collaboration could come to life. And you are about to witness the very first performance of this piece. He wrote it for this wind ensemble, and we've been working on it this semester. And Dr. Guthrie got here on Saturday and had an amazing time just giving some feedback to the group, and then worked with us, with our students today with some composition lessons, and gave an amazing lecture about his ideas of orchestrating and composing for band, and also just being a musical entrepreneur in this day and age as a composer. So it was very inspiring to have him on campus, and I've invited him to speak a few words about his piece before we perform it. So please welcome to the stage Dr. Ian Guthrie.
Thank you, Dr. Boots, and thank you all for being here. I'm ecstatic to be here and to hear this world premiere. I hope you're feeling the same way. So as he mentioned, we met a year and a half ago at the Missouri Music Educator Association's conference, and not only were we able to create a collaboration where we're exchanging things between campuses, but he was actually able to create a full-on commission for this. So this piece is dedicated to Dr. Boots and the wind ensemble here at Lindenwood. Some things about the piece. This piece was from some sketches I'd just been writing in my sketchbook, but it was really inspired by the university, which mentioned to awake the lion within. And so I was struck about this reference to a lion, which in many Middle Eastern and Western cultures refers to ideas like bravery, strength, power, deity. Ancient Egypt, the Jewish culture, and the Byzantine, Roman cultures all use this imagery, and including the biblical book of Amos, which Martin Luther King Jr. did to in his famous statement, "Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." So this piece employs all these images, including victory, strength, reverence, judgment, struggle, royalty. So I try to attempt to synthesize all these ideas within this work, but also create something accessible, challenging, and brings Lindenwood's mission well beyond the concert halls here, and a mission that encourages all to be ethical and passionate and motivated and perseverant in what we're trying to do for our culture, our community, and our world, music, and beyond. So I hope this work instills the same determinations in all of you, and I hope you enjoy the world premiere of To Awake the Roar of the Lion Within.
So exciting. The very first time that's ever been performed for your ears. And we hope you really enjoyed that. Thank you, Dr. Guthrie. Wow. This next piece on the program, and I'm so glad he spoke about that piece and just the vision, the inspiration behind it, because that's what music is. It's this deep level of art that something was going on in these composers' minds where they heard this, right? And that is ingenious to put that down on paper and to hear the backstory behind it. What was the inspiration behind it is really cool. So I love sharing that with the audience, and I want to do the same for this next piece by John Mackey, This Cruel Moon, which is adapted from a work that he wrote for symphony for band titled Immortal Thread So Weak, from Wine Dark Sea, symphony for band. The piece is an adaptation of the middle movement from that piece, Wine Dark Sea. And the full symphony tells the tale of Odysseus and this journey home following his victory in the Trojan War. But Odysseus' journey would take as long as the war itself. Homer called the ocean on which Odysseus sailed a wine dark sea. And for the Greek king, it was as murky and disorienting as its name. He would not find his way across it without first losing himself. This cruel moon is the song of the beautiful and immortal nymph Calypso, who finds Odysseus near death, washed up on the shore of the island where she lives all alone. She nurses him back to health and sings as she moves back and forth with a golden shuttle at her loom. Odysseus shares her bed, 7 years pass. The tapestry she began when she nursed him becomes a record of their love. But one day Odysseus remembers his home. He tells Calypso he wants to leave her, to return to his wife and son. He scoffs at all she has given him. Calypso is heartbroken. And yet, that night, Calypso again paces at her loom. She unravels her tapestry and weaves it into a sail for Odysseus. In the morning, she shows Odysseus a raft, equipped with the sail she had made and stocked it with wine and bread, and calls up a gentle and steady wind to carry him home. Shattered, she watches him go. He does not look back. beautiful solos in there. I don't think I even got all of them on the standing ovation, but that's one of my favorite things about John Mackey, the composer of that last piece. He writes for wind ensemble as if it's chamber music, as if you just had like 2 or 3 people in an ensemble and you're having a conversation with one another through music. And he just brings the color and specialty of each of these instruments to life like no other composer we know. And they just did a marvelous job performing that, so thank you all for sharing. This next piece is an exciting staple in the repertoire of band literature, titled Symphonic Dance No. 3, Fiesta by Clifton Williams. This was written in the 1960s. And wind ensemble is a relatively new medium of instrumentation in the last 80 years or so. And so back then, there wasn't anything written for this. This really started in America, and before that it was the symphony orchestra, right, that came from Europe, and all of the repertoire was written for that. So band directors, and band musicians got together and started composing, commissioning new people. Like we had Dr. Guthrie commission a piece today, and that's how it all gets started. You just have an idea, you collaborate with someone, you bring it to life, and then more comes to follow. So this is one of the first really important staples for our repertoire, and it's super fun. It's got this whole element of fiesta and bullfighting and just the bright colors of Spanish music. So we hope you enjoy Symphonic No. 3 for a nice twist and change in our music repertoire. So here we go. Well, it comes to our close and our last piece in the program. It's always so sad. We worked so hard at all this throughout the semester, and so much just impassioned practice and love for music and community. And that, for me, is what it's all about, bringing community together. And I'm so delighted that we get to invite members of the community to play in this ensemble. It's just been an amazing bond that our students have had with these members, and also the community from Francis Howe North now to come play with us, and just to meet new audiences, meet new people, all for the same universal love language of music. So thank you all for being here. This next and last piece is an amazing transcription. Oh, sorry, you all come on through. They're gonna move this piano for this next one. Did you unlock the, okay, great. So it's a piano transcription. It was written for piano and orchestra originally by Edvard Grieg. And careful on the, you don't wanna go past that wooden, yes, there you go. This is a 100,000 plus instrument. And if it goes past that wooden line, it's gonna fall straight through. Anyway, they're doing a great job. So this piece is a piano concerto written by Edvard Grieg in the key of A minor. We're gonna perform the first movement. It's a very famous work. I think a lot of you will recognize it when you hear it. And it was transcribed for wind ensemble. And we have the most amazing soloist tonight. Her name is Dr. Mihyun Lee. She is on faculty here at Lindenwood, our piano professor. And believe me when I tell you, Lindenwood is so, so lucky to have her here. She is one of the finest musicians I have ever met, and you're about to witness one of the most marvelous playing behind this and command of this instrument. So this is such a delightful treat. And it's just been so inspiring for us as musicians to work with her and just to learn about what her instrument sounds like and how we can emulate that as a band and not necessarily overpower it, but support that. We've talked a lot about texture and about like nuance of sound, right? It's not about just putting air through the horn, but also like the sound in which you create, right? And if it's a longer tone or a shorter tone. So we try to really mimic and listen with our ears and emulate, and it's just been such a magical experience. So, I'm so excited to welcome to the stage Dr. Mihyun Lee. Please give her a round of applause.